We don't often get to cover a story like this on the Young Turks, but we have an example of a bipartisan group of legislators working together to curtail, at least in one specific area, corporate greed. But unfortunately, the corporations are not gonna go quietly into that good night, and they're fighting back against this effort, not just in the normal ways that they do, but by invoking the exact sort of horrific culture wars that the right is always focusing on. So what we're talking about here on the good side is a bipartisan coalition led by Senators Dick Durbin and Roger Marshall, who is a Republican, aiming to alleviate the burden on small businesses through the Credit Card Competition Act. So it's not lost on me that the time in which they're fighting against corporate greed is to protect smaller corporations, but whatever, I guess it's an improvement. So the CCCA that we mentioned is meant to stop Visa and MasterCard from setting unfair prices for what are considered swipe fees, which disproportionately harm small businesses. So every time somebody swipes their card, which is the vast majority of transactions, there is a fee for that. They are setting prices for that the businesses consider unfair. And we have an explainer about exactly how this works, so let's take a look at that.
When you use your credit card, the transaction runs through a store's processing system through the credit card's network to your card's bank. And there are fees throughout these steps. The processing system's fee is generally fairly low, around 0.1% of the total purchase. There's a large market the merchant can choose from, which can keep this cost down. Then there's the credit card's network fee, around 0.25%. And the largest fee of the system also happens here, the interchange fee. It's usually around 2 to 3%. It's set by the card networks, but it's paid to your bank that issued your credit card.
You get rewards for every purchase.
Everything? Essentially, that fee helps to fund the rewards that we all get when we use our credit cards.
Merchants paid banks and other credit card issuers interchange fees set by Visa and MasterCard, roughly $55 billion just last year. Interchange fees vary by card. Generally, a higher rewards card will come with a higher interchange fee, and businesses have little control over this. They can't choose to not accept a high rewards card because of the fees. If they want to accept any of a network's credit cards, they have to accept all of that network's credit cards.
So what is the proposed solution to this, to the system where the cards are the ones that determine these fees? Well, it's something that in theory, you'd imagine all of these Republicans and Democrats would like. They're all good capitalists. It would be that you set up a system of competition where the cards can have their version, but there can be other third parties that will set up competitor networks to manage the processing and routing. With competition, that would potentially drive the prices lower and everyone would, in theory, save money. But obviously, if you currently have a monopoly on that, you're not gonna be happy with that and you're not gonna allow it. So there is some fighting back going on. And again, like I said, it's not necessarily in the form that you would expect. In a recent ad campaign, shadowy right-wing groups have been issuing mailers and other advertisements claiming that the CCCA is a liberal handout for woke big box retailers like Target. One set of mailers was bankrolled by the Conservative Accountability Foundation, which I guess is anti-capitalist, a newly formed organization based in Senator Marshall's home state of Kansas, but without a listed address or phone number. You can actually see an example of one of these ads right here. So, because in theory, every business would pay less fees, what they've decided to do is choose the business that they think is most divisive and then say, well, look, it's helping them, so we should shut down the whole thing. Like, yeah, and theoretically, your purchases of Bud Light would have lower interchange fees too, but pointing that out doesn't actually benefit the consumer, and I can only hope that people aren't dumb enough to actually be won over by this.
Yeah, I'm worried about that hope. Okay, so bunch of things here, because this is an amazing story. So number one, this is mainly business on business crime. So before I get into the amazing parts, let me just say, this is not gonna pass, because once you have business interests bribing on both ends, so you've got Target, Walmart, and the small businesses on one end, you got the big giant credit card companies and Wall Street on the other end, they're just gonna both give millions of dollars to the politicians. The politicians are gonna be like, pigs in a trough. They're gonna be super happy, but it's gonna go, oh, filibuster, I guess there was nothing we could do. So that means Wall Street and the credit card companies are gonna win. Okay, so that's your spoiler alert for what's going to happen. You could take it to the bank. ironically. We're never wrong about legislation. All of legislation is determined by bribes. Anyone telling you otherwise is a fool, doesn't know anything about politics. But now, the interesting stuff. So now the Republicans, and now forget Republicans, like the business lobbyists have realized, the truth is totally irrelevant. Before we would like hang it on a pin a little bit like, oh, well, there's a 2% truth to this, and then we extrapolated the other 98%, and mainstream media would say, not guilty, perfectly good, yay, corporations and your lies, right? By the way, there are advertisers, but shh, right? So now they're like, we don't need the 2%. There's no accountability. The media's on our side. We got them in our back pocket. So what are they doing now? So you saw the Chinese flag and they're saying, oh, this is gonna help communist China. Let me quote here from actual journalists. The CCA includes provisions blocking foreign-owned companies and specifically China UnionPay from participating in the transaction routing networks. So the Chinese literally cannot use this system. It's in the bill. And the lobbyists are like, who cares that it's in the bill? Well, let's pretend it's not in the bill. Let's just brazenly lie about it and then say that it's helping China. And is the media calling them out on it other than the American Prospect? No, they're totally gonna get away with it. And they realize they've already gotten away with it. Now let's look at it, hey, if you're a Democrat and you're like, oh yeah, those terrible Republicans. Yes, that's true, but don't get too happy. Big tech has used the same strategy to win over Democrats. Get a load of how terrible this is. Big tech killed an antitrust bill last year. And now here, let me just pause here. I don't actually agree with the antitrust bills against big tech. I've talked about that on the show. But most progressives do. Most of the left does. And certainly all the Democrats are pretending that they agree with it, right? But meanwhile, secretly, they're killing that bill. So I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I like that they killed the bill, but the way they did it is unbelievable and outrageous and horrible. They're not arguing on the ideas. So what do? Big tech killed an antitrust bill last year in part by arguing that the bill would harm minority small businesses and by painting anti-monopoly groups as anti-trans. What? What kind of insanity are you talking about? No, it doesn't matter because they know how to get to Democrats. With Republicans, you just appeal to their greed, the bigotry, whatever it takes. Oh yeah, these Target, they're helping gay people be gay. Oh, boo, Chinese, we hate them, right? And the Republicans are like, kill the bill, right? With Democrats, they're like, oh, they're hurting not big businesses like Google and Facebook. That would be, that's not gonna work with the left. Oh, they're hurting minority small businesses. Wink. And Democrats 100% fall for that. They're hurting the trans community by being against my monopoly. Wink. And then Democrats are like, oh, identity politics, yes, kill the bill. I love big monopolies. Wait, what? Okay, I have a principled disagreement about that particular industry, right? But I acknowledge mine is not the left-wing position, right? The left-wing position is to be against the monopolies of these giant companies. But somehow, that's anti-trans? Nah, these guys are all liars and they're playing you, 100% playing you. They're playing the right wing by appealing to their problems, and they're playing the left wing by going, oh, identity politics. And so, and then none of the reporters report anything other than the American Prospect, The Lever, and The Intercept, and us. That's it. There's like 4 actual news organizations in the country. Everybody else is a bunch of liars doing propaganda and marketing for different corporations. Mas.
You know, it feels pretty hopeless because you hear the term dark money, and I'm always like, who are these dark money people? I always think of like a Halliburton or an Eric Prince type. But as you said, it is from both sides, and it is anytime it feels like there's a good thing that we can do. We were just talking about the train regulations a minute ago. We talk about gun legislation. We talk about a lot of stuff that coming out the gate, everyone goes, well, this sounds like a great idea. And quickly the dark money gets involved and crushes it. And this is another one of those cases in which I think helping small businesses would be a good thing. Now, throwing in Target and these other big mega stores into the mix, they're not small businesses clearly, but it's just interesting how these flyers show up and it confuses the constituents and the constituents are against it. And in this case, as you said, it's the woke. They're saying it's for the woke stores. I'm surprised. Maybe the next one they'll be like, you can, they're gonna do something that these companies can take credit cards to give abortions and use at sex shops and groom your children. I mean, just that's how they scare people on the right nowadays. But it's just, again, it feels hopeless. I don't know how we ever get anything done that actually helps consumers and helps smaller businesses when you have someone who's got a monopoly. I was thinking about whoever's got that middle ground of the percentage that they're getting every time a transaction is being made. Someone's making a ton of money doing that, and they have enough money to get these lobbyists, to get these cards sent to their constituents, and then, as you said, nothing gets done. So horrible way to go into a weekend, but hey,
yeah,
don't use your credit card. Use cash this weekend.
Yeah, look, by the way, Maz, I did that after I read the story. I literally used cash instead of a credit card because it infuriated me so much. Look, guys, look at what they're doing and how they're playing you. So one side, in order to maintain a monopoly, says, oh, the bad guys are woke. And the other side, in order to maintain their monopoly, says, the bad guys are anti-woke. When in reality, it has nothing to do with woke or anti-woke. It has to do with the money, Lebowski, the money. The culture wars are a giant distraction. There are fireworks going off as they funnel the money out the back. They're 2 to 3% of every transaction. They're making billions upon billions upon billions of dollars at the expense of small business owners and you, the customer. Meanwhile, they're getting you to fight over nonsense culture war issues, and everybody's falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. And the number one problem, as I explained in my book, Justice Coming, there are no refs left anymore. If there are no refs, the bad guys are always going to win. Like, would Michael Jordan have won a single championship, the greatest player to play, or LeBron James? No, they wouldn't want a single championship if there were no refs. You know what? You know why? Bill Laimbeer would have come in and just, bam, jackhammered Michael Jordan, probably break his ankle and maybe give him a concussion and go, what, there's no refs. Why would I let the best player play? That's insane, right? So that's what these companies are doing. They're just lying and lying and lying and bribing and bribing and bribing. And the mainstream media is like, I don't see it. I don't see it. So that's what the problem is. Everything is intensely corrupt.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.